straight in, then anyone that watches has an idea of all our backgrounds before we chat about stuff, I guess, so they have an understanding of where we... Michael!
Hey! How you doing?
Are you all right?
Wonderful.
All right.
You guys are looking great.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, you too.
I just seen Lisa. She's coming in.
Is she?
Lisa's almost here.
Sausage legs. Where is she?
That's a terrible name.
It's because they gave her these awful, when she used to do the Rat Pack, they used to give the girls these awful sheer tights that made your legs look like sausages. Lisa.
Yes.
Good morning.
It says I'm still connecting. Why can you see me and I can't see you?
I can see everybody. You're
Hold
still
on.
connecting. There you go.
Hold on, I've still got a whirly thing.
Got a whirly thing.
Hold on, my computer's a bit slow this morning. I've got way too much open. I'm just trying to deal with it.
Pornhub.
Okay.
All righty. Let me know when you guys are all set.
Oh, there you go. Hold on, let me just put you on full screen.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Definitely.
Yeah, what's in the cup, George?
Coffee for now. Coffee for now. Because I did get really tanked last night at the wake for Sue's mum.
All right.
Because I was thinking after the cemetery, I was thinking, oh, we're all going back for the wake now, and it's kind of only 11:30. And I was thinking, maybe I'm not. And then I thought, fuck it. So we just all got hammered and laughed a lot, which was nice to do.
Good.
Great.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I don't know where everybody is on the screen, but
well, I'm here.
That's Stephen, who Lisa knows and I know.
Yes.
That's
Hello,
my
Stephen.
brother Tyrone at the...
Hello, Lisa.
Yeah.
Hi, Tyrone.
Hey,
Hi.
And that is
Hi,
Michael,
everybody.
who you don't know, but I know.
All righty.
So maybe if we go round each individually first, like we said before the others came in, and just give a brief description of your history and what you're up to, and
Not a lot right now.
and let's kind of see where it takes us, and Tyrone will hopefully have some inspiration for further questions to find out more about what we're all doing and what we're feeling at the moment. And
all righty. Well, first of all, let me get it started by introducing everybody, the world, the US and the UK. This is Tyrone Bridges, What I Thought You Knew, live with the Definitive Rat Pack. These brothers and sisters is here live with me from the UK, and we are here trying to learn more about you guys. And we'd like to go a round table right quick and get everybody's name, starting with, let's go with Michael. Let's start with Michael.
Hey, I'm Michael Blatt. I live in New York City, and I've been a professional actor since I was about 8. I was in the national tour of The King and I. Should not have been cast in it but it was a different time, and I with Yul Brynner, and then I was forever being an actor. I know George. We did the European tour of Hair together many years ago.
Job.
Yes. And then I was an actor in New York for a long time, and then I also went back to school and got my master's in directing at the Actors Studio, and now I'm a director. So that's mainly what I do. Is I direct theater, mostly musicals and straight plays, and I also am a professor at the American Musical Dramatic Academy in New York City, and directing there. Yeah, I'm just trying to survive in this time. That's about it.
Glad to meet you, Michael.
Nice to meet you.
And let's go to Lisa. We're going to go to round the clock here. Let's go to Lisa.
Hello. Thank you for having me. So lovely to see your lovely faces. I am Lisa Donmel-Reeve. I was Lisa Donmel before I married a Reeve. I didn't want to just be Reeve because I thought it sounded like a science teacher. No offense to the Reeves at all. But I now live in Los Angeles. I've lived in the States for nearly, where are we? God, we moved in 2012. So, so a long time now. I'm now a dual citizen. I don't perform anymore. I danced from a very, very young age. I went to Performing Arts College in London from 16. Started performing professionally, I guess, at 19, 18, something like that, after I left college. Always wanted to do musicals. Like that was like from a very, very, very young age. I was obsessed with them from like Sing in the Rain when I was 11, 42nd Street. I absolutely loved that era, still do love. And I think this is just a wonderful platform and genre. I just, you know, that whole discipline is just amazing. And I'm glad I had that kind of chapter of my life. And then went to New York in 2012 because I did some work. Rat Pack kind of took me out to America. So that's what, and that's what I loved, because I did some training in New York, loved New York, and was like, oh my God, I feel like it's my second city. Had some friends there. I was going back and forth. That's what took me to get my green card, because I'd done some work out there, and then lived in New York for 5.5 years, doing some work out there. And then my husband's job took us to LA. But before that, I kind of was done with performing, and I transitioned to producing. So I'm now a filmmaker, actually. So I produce films. So I'm actually quite busy because I just finished a feature documentary about jazz dance, actually, the whole history of jazz dance. So we finished that in 2019. So that's on the film festival circuit. So I've actually been quite busy, thankfully.
It's done really well, hasn't it? I mean, the reception.
Yeah, I mean, I still need money. You always need money as a producer. It's so hard being independent producer. I wish, I love being my own boss, but you constantly need money. So that's the only downside of it. But I do love the creativity and the kind of drive that you kind of get to choose your own work, and you're collaborating with people that you want to collaborate with. So that I really, really like that side of it. And I couldn't imagine being in front of the camera, or that. It's odd that 4.5 years ago that all I wanted to do was like be on stage, and I look at that side of things, even though obviously I'm still very dramatic. No. I can pull it out the bag, but I don't crave that. I miss the community, and that's why I still kind of, I have the community behind the scene now, like with my crew and my, you know, you make your family in a different way. But that's kind of where I'm at. My challenges are, this year I was like, well, there's no way I'm shooting, or, you know, there's no way I'm doing anything in COVID times, because independently you can't. It's just the big studios can, because they can afford, because you need to raise so much more money. So that's where I'm at. I've been developing stuff rather than production. So I'm like, thank God there's a vaccine. So I'm planning for fall 21.
Amazing.
And try to survive like everyone else. So I've kind of got side gigs, virtual side gigs, going money while you're doing everything else. So yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, Stephen, with the, what was that, the cat tail in there? You cat wanted to talk to?
Cat wandered past.
Oh God, there he goes.
Don't show us your bum hole, cat. No.
There he is. Hey, say socks. There he is.
Hey,
Yeah, he's a bit frustrated because I closed the door. He can't get out of the room now.
Uh-oh.
And he doesn't like being picked up either, so that's good. My name is Stephen Triffitt. I've sort of become known as that guy who plays Frank Sinatra, sort of in America and the UK, Europe, across the world, that sort of thing. I was a latecomer to the industry. Didn't really start until I was 38. I'm 58 now, so that's a full 20 years of being Frank.
Wow.
I did actually do a couple of pub gigs before I went professional, and I used to sing a variety of stuff, sort of Elton John and Billy Joel and so on. But people said that everything I sang, it sounded like Frank Sinatra singing it, so I just stuck with the Frank, really. Done a variety of different shows as Frank. My first professional job actually was in the Sands Hotel Casino in Atlantic City, and that was playing Frank for the lovely Americans who had no idea that I was actually British until I spoke to them. They'd all come and go, wow, what a fantastic show. And I go, oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And oh my God, you're British. And from that, shows you how long ago it was. I got a fax from a company called Flying Music asking me if I'd like to join a new take on a show that they'd already been putting out a little bit, called the Rat Pack, live from Las Vegas, even though it had never been there. And and that was when I met the lovely George Long and Mark Adams, who plays Dean Martin. And over the years, we've had various girls that appear in the show, Lisa being one of them. Yes. So that was when we were working for somebody else. Now we work for ourselves. And we have a show called The Definitive Rat Pack, and a side show to that called Sinatra and Friends. So depending upon where we are in the world, we have different varieties of the show. The Definitive Rat Pack is very similar to what they did in the Sands Hotel Casino in Vegas, and he brought a little bit more up to date. I mean, there are some slightly non-PC jokes that we can't say these days because they may be taken the wrong way. So we sort of replaced them with modernisms, and Sinatra and Friends is basically is Sinatra like one of his TV shows where he's the host and he introduces Dean and Sammy, and also we have a girl who plays not Tina. Oh God, what's her name now?
Nancy.
So that George, Nancy, that's the one.
One daughter, yeah.
That's it, the other daughter. Yes, that's right. Yes, Nancy Sinatra. Yeah, we were actually in the middle of a tour of Germany when the whole COVID thing hit, and I think we caught the last ferry out of France. We were very lucky. Otherwise, we would have spent the next three months in France, which is, as British people, you can understand how horrible that would have been for us. And for the French as well, of course. But yeah, we managed to escape, and ever since then we've spent most of our time over the past few months not working. But we have this wonderful tier system in the UK, depending upon how bad COVID is in your particular county or area. And tiers 1 and 2 you can still work in if you're in the entertainment and hospitality industry. And then 3 and 4, forget it. Wow. And so we were lucky enough to be in tier 2 in London for a little while, where we were able to work for short periods. Yeah, I think over the past 9 months, we've managed to do pretty much a whole, well, George, you've managed to do a full 2 weeks work.
Yeah, I think that got cut short when it moved into tier 3.
Yeah, exactly. And Mark and I were a little bit luckier because we were able to do a Frank and Dean show. So I think we managed to do collectively about a full month over the past 9 months. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we're in an industry which has obviously been hit, very, very hard by all of this. But we will carry on.
We will.
We won't let the buggers beat us. No. Yeah, and that's me really. Solo shows, Rat Pack shows, all as Frank Sinatra. My story, the end.
Don't forget Blade Runner, Striff.
Oh yeah, yes. I was
Frank quite well.
Yeah. I was a 34 centimeter high Frank Sinatra in Blade Runner 2048 in a glass dome.
Wow.
which everybody thought was Frank Sinatra, but in actual fact, it was me. I had dots on my face to make me look like Frank Sinatra, and so on. So I have a good 5-second appearance in that. It's quite impressive.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And last but not least, the guy that brought me joy in the 2019, found me after years of search, my beautiful brother, George Long.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm similar to, well, I guess I'm much more closely like say Lisa and Michael, as I've always been a musical theatre performer. It was something I've always done, West End mainly. Did go, and I did my first professional job with Michael, and me and Lisa were at the same college. And you do constantly bump into people in the industry. It's quite, even though it's a big world, you move from family to family, and you do end up working with people again. Some people you only work with once. I mean, I did get to see Michael when he came over for a reunion, a hair reunion.
Yes.
Loads of lovely faces, and a lot of our old castmates have gone off to do bigger and better things, and some no idea what's happened to them. Really, it's kind of, and then some just suddenly pop out of the woodwork, and you're like, oh my god. But yeah, so I met Stephen when we started doing the Rat Pack, and yeah, we're doing it now. But I've kind of I retired from the industry kind of in 2009 when I did Sister Act, and I kind of went, oh, I'm not learning anymore. But then I fell back into, I started retraining in horticulture, and then I fell back into the show with Stephen and Mark, and we've gone from there. And it is something that, even though it's not something I want to do full-time, every single night, 365 days a year, the one thing I miss sidetracking is having your little community. There's nothing like a creative community. The friendships that you make, and because you are literally in each other's pockets with any job that you're doing, and you make these bonds. That's the one thing that I really miss from when I don't do anything creative, but working for myself. It's like I don't have that group of people that you just have great fun with. It's the best laughs. It creates loads of amazing friendships. Like our girls that we use have become the best friends ever, and they're all godparents to, it's just, and they've maintained brilliant friendships. And it was really nice to start working again and see Mark and Stephen. It was kind of something that when it got cut short again, we were like, oh, can we just, I mean, it's difficult when you are a creative, and it isn't like you're not employed by somebody, and you've got, most of us, I guess, would be freelancers, wouldn't you say, guys? That we're kind of,
Yeah.
So if we can't work and there is nobody, we're all kind of buggered until the vaccine's out and things get back to normal. And as Lisa said, if you've got people who have got money and the facilities to make sure everything is done in a certain way, they have a much greater potential to keep things going, because they can invest in all the procedures. When it's just you and doing smaller things, it's very difficult to be in control of that, and you're at the mercy of governments. And especially if you do international work, you're kind of restricted by, each country is going to have a different set of rules, and because most of our work isn't in the UK, and so, we can't fly. I mean, like this year, I couldn't fly to come and see you guys, which was really frustrating. You just find your family and then you can't visit, and it was horrible. But, thanks to Zoom and Facebook,
we're still here.
We're still here.
Excellent. So what was the biggest show you guys have actually done before the COVID hit?
Well, me and Stephen were on tour with our Sinatra and Friends show.
Right.
Like Stephen said, we were halfway through, and suddenly every day going through the show, we were all going, Switzerland got cancelled because Switzerland was the first to kind of reduce numbers in theatres. And then every show after that was hanging on a knife's edge. And it was literally like, are they going to pull it? Are they not going to pull it? Because you had to wait for the governments to say, we're shutting down, because if you decided to shut down, you'd be responsible. The insurance wouldn't cover it.
Well,
So
they
you
were
had to get-
shutting down the theatres. We'd perform, and then the day after they'd shut that theatre. So they were shutting theatres down across Germany behind us.
we were shit.
And then we had a day off. And then we had a day off, and they caught up with us, and that was it.
We would literally thought we might be able to salvage the rest, because it was Germany waiting for the announcement, and we at least thought, okay, we know that Norway had gone, Sweden had gone, Switzerland was out, but we were like, Germany looked like we might be able to keep going, and then they just went no. So we drove home on the bus, because I couldn't move all the flights to get everybody back on the plane, so we took the tour bus home, and it was weird. It was
back across Germany and across France,
Holland, Belgium, and France, and then
Yeah.
everything was shutting, and it was just bonkers. It was, and then we'd find out that actually one of our trumpet players he called me a few months ago and said, "Oh, when I was ill just before the tour, I had COVID." And I was going, "Oh my God, if you'd have had that a
Goodness.
couple of weeks later, it would have just gone like wildfire through the bus."
For us, yeah,
It would
all
have
of us
been-
living on a bus.
Yeah,
Wow.
would have been crazy. So I think, I'm glad he didn't get too sick from it. But when he said that, I was thinking that was a close shave,
Right.
really close shave.
So Michael, you and Lisa, how has COVID affected you guys in I know in New York, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we well, all of my summers, I had a lot of jobs lined up for summer. So it was March when it happened. I was in production with a show at AMDA, which we ended up, so that now I've sort of, my career has changed a little bit because of COVID. I'm exploring a lot more doing on film. I am not a film person. I am a theater person since I was a little child. And it's just, film has always been like, it's not been my thing. But I was in mid-production of a show at AMDA, and they were like, "You're gonna still do the show, but we're gonna film it. We'll all be connected on Zoom. Everyone's gonna be self-taping on their cameras at the same time in their houses, and we're gonna edit the show together." And it was a super cool process. And so now I started a production company that's the only thing we do. It's called At Home Films, and a lot of my friends from the Actors Studio, we've been just experimenting with. We wrote a play about actors doing The Three Sisters on Zoom, and we filmed it all on our phones. And it's been a super interesting learning experience. Learn how to edit and kind of change directions for me. So that's been a cool thing that I'm doing a lot of. But all my contracts basically of every show got canceled that I was supposed to direct. So the last thing I directed in New York, I did this musical Hello Again, which is a wonderful little tiny show about people, how we're all connected through people we have sex with. And it's like 12 people, and they all go into a circle through their connections. And it's a beautiful show. And that happened right before COVID. We were lucky enough to go up off Broadway. We did it, and then the show closed, and then it was March. But so everything's really on hold. My summer jobs right now are still like Actors Equity in America is not letting any performances happen at all. SAG is a little bit better. They're like Lisa said, there's some movement in that respect. But for Equity, we are shut down. And my directors union, the SCC, we're basically like told not to work this moment. The only work we can do is online. So it's a really rough spot. I'm lucky enough to be teaching at AMDA. We've moved on to online. And then this past 6 weeks, we did 6 weeks live. We all wore masks in the studio. We were 6 feet apart, no touching on stage. Scenes, I had like a little glass partition that I hid behind as they did their scenes. We lasted 6 weeks, and then we were being tested once a week, and then which took an exorbitant amount of effort on their part. We also did a show where we rehearsed it with masks on, and then the day of the show, everyone took their masks off. We filmed the show live, no audience, but we were being tested once a week to great expense. And then now everything's been shut down. We're back online for a little bit again. So it's been really, really tough. It's just trying to figure out your way in this business again.
Because we can all be creative. I mean, I think what I'm seeing is a lot of people are being really creative with the downtime, and people are doing using Zoom and doing online concerts, but it doesn't pay the bills, because it's very difficult when you're used to, say, putting on a production that requires ticket sales at a certain price, you can't charge people online
Right.
back by the ticket price.
Right.
I mean, anything theatre based, there's no way in COVID times you can make money. That's period. I admired London taking a stab. I literally was gobsmacked that they even tried. I just was like, whoa, this is way too soon, in my opinion. How are they even making money? I think it's amazing that they're trying to generate and keep it going. But I was worried for everyone, and I was worried that it was too soon. But I thought it was an amazing, effort to try and keep the industry going. And then I just thought it was so sad because it's just like a roller coaster for everyone emotionally who's in the industry, because one minute they think they've got a job, and then the next minute it was shut down again because the numbers had gone up so much. And that's just so, when you're in it, because we are emotional beings, especially in this industry, it's just so harrowing for them. And they got shut down so quickly. And so theatre is, we have to have been vaccinated, and the numbers have to have been low, and we have to know that everyone has to be happy in a big space, and people have to be able to sing and in a close proximity and everyone has to be safe, I think, to be able to proceed. And that's why theatre is a tricky one, whereas the film industry seems to be a little bit easier, even though they've had bumps in the road, because really they have to test all the time. Some film sets have been shut down because when people test positive, that gets shut down. But they've kind of figured out ways, where they can, the creative part, they rewrite stuff. So if you look at certain, series, you'll see that there isn't mass scenes of people. Mm-hmm. They've figured it out, and that's because they can. They have the ability, but they're also big studios. Like my friend Nicholas, he's in a series. They're not doing 15 episodes, they're doing 10 because they're using that money for COVID and for shutdowns and for the testing. And so ABC have got the money to be able to do that, and that's smart. And they're also, but at least then they're paying people and they're keeping the economy going and they're keeping actors working. So there's all this pros and cons, and I think it's so difficult for me, isn't it, as a independent producer? It's impossible. You have to raise a third of my budget to make a film more, and it's hard enough for me to raise a budget. I mean, I never get paid anyway. I always defer my fee because I'm a creative producer anyway. I'm like, no, I just want to make it. Let's do it. I'll defer my fee. I'll get paid on the back end, and that never happens. Although that's changing because I've now done it for 4.5 years. I need to get paid, but I just think it's the pandemic.
It's a really sad situation. I mean, live entertainment is effectively dying.
Live entertainment will come back, but I think
it will come back, bigger than it was before, simply because the population will be demanding that there is live entertainment, because they've missed it so much. I mean, I think everybody was so blasé when you had the choice of watching TV or watching live entertainment that it's not until it's not there that you miss it. And
what got people through the whole lockdown is creative, music, films, recordings of things.
Yeah.
That's
the theatres that you're talking about, Lisa, that were open and were actually trying to put on sort of shows or formats of shows and pantomime even and whatever. They were opening knowing full well they were going to make a loss, because they had a socially distant audience, which meant they were only allowed to take around about a third of the audience. So they knew they were making a loss, and most of those theatres were privately owned. And the only reason they were doing that was to provide some kind of live entertainment to an audience that was dying for it.
Right.
Unfortunately, you know, the way our government and our tier system works is that you never know. I mean, they're supposed to review things every 2 weeks. Ever since they
We're supposed to
said
go
that
to tier
we're
5 or
reviewing the
something,
tier
you know.
system every 2 weeks, they've never done it. They've always done it earlier. So you can think you've got at least 2 weeks, and then a week later they're saying, "Oh no, we've changed it. We're going to change it now." So, you know, which is what they did to us in London. And you cannot plan ahead.
No, that's the one thing that this virus has taught us. You cannot. The only moment that is certain is now. You cannot plan ahead, and we're so used to planning ahead.
And you can be as creative as you like in your downtime, but what do you do with it if you come up with something, because you can't do it? I mean, those poor guys in the Christmas Carol that literally rehearsed, and they open and they shut on opening night because London went into tier 3. They'd literally spent all the time and effort. They got to do one performance, all that money, and that's it. You shut. I mean, we did 2 shows at Cadogan Hall where everybody booking tickets had to be in households, and they had no interval, so that people weren't milling at the bar, had to wear face masks. Drinks were brought to seats. They had an in-seat app thing that you ordered your drink and it came to your seat.
Wow.
Even though it wasn't as full, the atmosphere was great, but there were so many empty seats, it felt really safe. And when we came in the building, pardon?
So they did everything right.
And we had to sanitize when we went in, masks backstage. They marked out for us every 2 meters on stage, and we kind of occasionally, but we had to cut loads of things. We might get too close, but we adapted it to put on a show apart from each other, being safe. Yet when we went out before the first show, me and Hannah, who plays Nancy, we went out to go to Boots. Queues round the block for Peter Jones of random couples just queuing to shop. And then when they went to tier 3 and they said you can't perform anymore, you're going, but the streets are full of random shoppers up and down Regent and Oxford Street, shopping in masses, you know.
And schools are still open, and gymnasiums are still open, and you can still get your hair and nails done, and all of this, you know.
And you still go to the gym, but
wow,
that poor venue thought they got their heads round, and actually it felt really safe in there. Everyone was really conscious of it. But then you just see the streets packed with Christmas shoppers and you go, that's not right.
No, that's what was really horrible, was the mismanagement of that you'd done everything right, and then on the street it was just the total opposite.
Right. Do you think there's a clear message in the States? Has it been? I mean, I know that every state is
so
doing different things, but
the States are.
You can't even compare, because we've been led by an imbecile.
Exactly.
So
we've had no
top, is there, setting a precedent?
And the thing is, we don't. You know, you guys, at least your government, I think, appears to be interested in the arts, whereas our government has zero interest in the arts. Like, I don't think Donald Trump's ever been to a play. Maybe only when his wife was in the Will Rogers Follies back in, the second one. So he does not care about it at all. I mean, it's a miracle that they even just gave money to the arts just now, because I just walked through Times Square the other day. I went to the museum, because the museums are open here, but very few people in them. And then I walked all the way down through Manhattan I live on 23rd Street, and I walked through Times Square, and it is literally every restaurant's been shut, every theater's shut, because if the theaters are shut, then every hotel's shut, because there's no tourists to see the shows. So the entire area is closed. It's completely gone, and it's insane. But there's what's my point of my story? There's no, I don't think there's like any federal guidance. Then you got in Florida, I have a friend. It's a non-equity theater. I'm not going to say what the name of it is, but he's doing shows. And that's because Florida is all, they don't.
Isn't that where Trump has gone to, Florida?
Yes. Yeah. So they're super conservative, and they're like, let it burn, baby. And this theater has been doing shows, and they're doing them to like, almost like full capacity. They're not even doing, but it's non-union, and so it just depends on where you are.
But also for Florida, they get their state funding will get pulled unless they do
Do they?
live. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I think it's up to I think it's frustrating for everyone, but you kind of understand it in some respect. I think the hard thing has been, between Actors Equity being super resistant to doing online things and filming things, and there's been an idea of like what they did with Hamilton, of like filming the show and putting it up, and the union's been very resistant of that. They just did this show Diana, which is they were in rehearsal. I don't even think they got to a show, and then they got closed down. They put them in a bubble and they tested them every day, and they did it. They filmed it like last month, and that's going to come out on Netflix. And I think that's a great way of saving Broadway right now, is doing stuff like that. But the unions have been it's been a lot of fighting between SAG and Actors Equity. Even like the little online things I've done now all of a sudden have turned union, and we can't really release them because
Wow.
we didn't use, so it's a uncharted territory. It's very frustrating.
How's Julian affected, Lisa?
Oh, well, he's not in that world anymore because he got injured. So he was injured and had left before all the pandemic. So he's transitioned his writing, so he's at home. This time has actually been quite good for him. He's written a book, so he's again, both of us have been developing and doing stuff. It's just been a question of finding other work that pays, and weirdly there has been a way for me, because I work with other production companies and other producers, and for instance there was like I've done some Zoom producing, and I can do project managing virtually, and there's ways that I can earn money from my office of my skill set that I've learned over the last 5 years. So I've luckily, it's just independent contract work. So it's not necessarily always constant. I used to teach, so I did have a good beginning of 2020. So I had some money, and then I was able to claim unemployment. So that was a lucky, and I've never done that ever. And then I just was able to, I've just literally, the fact that I said to my husband this morning when we were walking the dog, I was like, oh, we've only got like 2 days left of 2020. We was like, we made it.
Yes.
We made it. That's amazing. You went, it's not over yet.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of, you do count the end of the year and you go like, oh, but you go, I was just going to go back into the same again,
Yeah, but I still think because of the vaccine, and even though it's really dark months because LA numbers are really bad, but I still think for me, where we are, because we're in Woodland Hills, I haven't really changed anything. I go out, I wear a mask, I social distance, I work from home. I'm just sensible. I follow the rules. I'm just waiting for January 20, get Biden in, get Trump out.
Yeah.
That's
Get a
right.
bit of sanity.
Get through January 6th. That's the
Oh yeah, I got to get past that bump. But
Right.
it's all crazy. I've trusted in the system since he's tried every single judge and not got anything through. Let's just get Biden in.
Oh, he hasn't given up yet.
No,
I know, but he's crazy. So we all know it's crazy. But once he's a citizen, there's a shit ton coming at him. So let's just wait and see what the next drama is.
He's always having a final temper tantrum, doesn't he? Just trying to wreck it all before he leaves. And it's all a bit like,
But if he wants to
come back in 4 years, you can't do
his own
that.
legacy, that's totally fine by me. But I want him in an orange suit personally. I don't think that will happen. But
I agree.
Or at least that awful Ivanka and Jared. I want something to happen to one of
that's
them.
the problem.
Kimberly
There's
Guilfoyle.
too many Trumps to follow to
Yeah, lock them all up.
Yeah.
But then
anyway.
you'll have people in positions that actually are qualified to do those jobs as of January, won't you?
Exactly. It would be quite nice to have politicians in the White House. So let's just get vaccines and just at least by spring to have some kind of, and just
Normality.
the thought of the fact that we would have been in like pretty much lockdown for a year is just insane. Where I remember going, no, I can do it for a month, that's fine, I've got stuff to do.
Did a lot of gardening and everything. But I think when everything comes
The garden.
when
I've got
everything
stuff to
comes
do.
back though, I think the level of appreciation of the performance is going to be so high.
I think so.
Because of the missing, it's almost like missing a hug. That performance is
Yeah.
it's like I've watched a bunch of the videos and I've been like, wow, like, oh my God. Just amazing. Y'all do amazing work. And the industry, yeah, it has taken a big dent, but the recovery is going to be amazing.
And cinemas, though, I mean, not being able to show,
I
and
can't
Netflix
wait.
have played their cards right and going, you know, sod it. If we have to take a bit of a, if we, you know, if you're paying monthly and you can watch everything you want and we'll keep producing just to keep going. But like things like the Bond film not coming out because they want it to be in cinemas, it's kind of a bit like, well, is it going to pass by? Is people going to eventually be like, well, we've waited for this for years and we're going to see it now? Is the novelty going to have worn off?
Probably release the one they weren't able to and release the new one the week after.
Yeah.
I think the new creative way of producing is going to take over in the year to come. You know, a lot of out of the box thinking is happening. A lot of people making things happen out of nothing.
Yeah, I don't think the online thing is actually going to totally disappear, because people have found that it is a form of media that does actually work and people are interested in. And I mean, apart from actually families sort of discovering or meeting or talking to each other, it's the only way they've been able to do, you know, this whole Zoom thing. I think it's quite incredible. I mean, personally, I've always shied away from that kind of thing, but you know, over this period of time, I realized that it's a necessity. You know, I hadn't seen my dad for 2 years. He's getting older. My mother is exactly the same sort of thing, and neither of those two are actually sort of tech savvy. And yet, you know, if they can get on Zoom and talk to people, then I'm thinking, well, okay, maybe I should too then.
Yeah, right.
You know, but also you see that the various productions that people are trying to put out. I mean, people in, you know, that are just, they don't have to be professionals in our industry necessarily, but, you know, just regular giggers who do sort of pubs and restaurants and things like this. You know, they're recording themselves in their shed and people are watching it, you know. So I don't think that's ever going to go away. I think it's just an add-on to the industry.
Yeah.
It's also businesses as well, business meetings, proving that you don't have to jet first class all the way around the world to have a chat about something.
Right.
But will that be, I have a feeling that a lot of that will come back, because people, I think there's a certain set of people that it's a good excuse for jollies.
Yeah.
And some people will change their minds and go, we've just proven we don't need to have really expensive offices and do international business. We can do it by Zoom. But there were some that will just go, oh, great, we can go back to.
I think like for casting, I was thinking a lot of it will stay on Zoom or stay self-submission. It was already moving that way. You know, self-tape is something that I always work with people and teach with people, you know, and that's going to stay. And I don't think that's going to go away. And also even in the academia of teaching theater, I'm doing scenes on Zoom. I've seen some really beautiful work, like amazing listening and reacting that you don't see when you see two people on stage. So that, you know, maybe it's going to become like a hybrid thing. So, you know, you do 2 days in a studio and a day on Zoom, and they cut costs that way. But it does bring out interesting things that you didn't get to see before.
Right.
So I think it's in some ways it's great, and it's all gonna. I do think the theater is gonna come back. I hope it will come back.
I totally think.
It will.
I think it's like after the Spanish flu, the Roaring '20s, and everyone went crazy because they'd probably been locked up and they couldn't like touch each other. I think we're gonna have the same thing when we can finally be together and
we're gonna have Corona babies. It'll be
I
the
do
Corona
think it's
baby
like,
period. That's what it'll be
Right.
remembered as.
I can't wait to like fly and see my mum and like go to a film festival and go to the
Yeah.
theatre, go to the Hollywood Bowl and see a gig. I miss all that. I'm like, I miss being around people. And I think Zoom, we're so lucky because in 1918 they didn't have Zoom, they didn't have technology, they just freaking had to deal with it.
Right.
We're so lucky. But I cannot wait to just even I could meet up with people socially distanced outside a cafe. I can't even do that anymore because they've shut the outside spaces again.
Yeah.
I'm craving that. I'm like, I can go to Starbucks and take it and walk along the street, but I even sit outside Starbucks.
Right.
So
And
the
it's
only thing that's
funny
been
how little
accessible basically to everybody is food. So how's everybody's Corona weight going on?
Yeah, well, that's not
More the
talk about
booze
that.
that's doing it.
More booze?
We're working on it. We're working on it. I bought a one of those the bikes that go online, the Nordic
Oh,
Track.
Peloton.
I don't have a Peloton. I got a Nordic Track.
Okay.
Because I like it because it does its own incline and you can go on trips. So today I went to Mallorca and so I get to travel.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's cool. So that's been helping.
Virtual Mallorca. Oh, excellent.
We've
Yeah,
got
you
a
follow.
dog, and I've also got the mirror. Have you seen the mirror?
Oh, that looks cool.
Yeah, we've had that since January. Actually, we got it before the pandemic.
Wow.
Yeah, we
Mirror,
bought a
what's that?
Bowflex
What is it?
too.
It's like a mirror, and it's an app on your phone, and you can pick whatever class, and they appear in the mirror, and you just follow that.
Wow.
Yeah.
They did that before the pandemic, and it's like exploded. I think Lululemon bought it now, so it's really cool.
I guess I mean, for me and Stephen, where we live, we're quite rural where we live, so it's very easy for us to avoid. So my life is actually no different. I'm in my house. I go around. I pop round and maybe see my friend. I can pop and see my mum and dad, but I keep away. I'm not actually. My life isn't. It's just not.
Well, apart from the fact you can't work.
That's the only problem. I can't. Usually, I can work and then I can earn enough to kind of relax for a little bit, and then another job comes in which keeps savings topped up, and then it going on. And this year was last year wasn't great, but this year was going to be a really good year for kind of.
This year was going to be the best of our.
A really good time to really start buckling down, and it was loads of like there was going to be a month in Riyadh, wasn't there, Stephen?
Abu Dhabi.
It's just, and that would have been a bumper earner, plus half the tour we lost, and then there was a few things in, and it's just, and then all of our Christmas, December work, it was just a bit like, I was thinking, oh, hooray, it's going to be a good year, and I can actually, and then I've eaten into every last bit of savings I have. I'm having to, my parents have to occasionally help me out if I haven't got enough to, they've got to pay for my course fees because I'm still studying.
Wow.
But then I'm having to, I mean, okay, I am looking after them a lot. So it's kind of, and they're not going to let me starve, but
right.
It's very difficult.
Credit doesn't quite cover the whole thing.
So we can agree, just throw the whole 2020 away and reset everything.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Some things I don't want to throw away about it because I've made connections that I didn't have last year.
That's right.
There's been events there've been shit points. I mean, every time you see the orange pillock on the screen, it just makes your blood boil. But there are, and Bojo, and it's just like, ugh. But there's been some great moments with friends and family. I've got a much closer relationship to one of my sisters because she comes over once a week to see my parents, and we walk the dogs, and we've been getting to, know each other again better, and it's kind of
great.
It's those kinds of things have been really rewarding, and I think Black Lives Matter brought a lot of people back together. Remember Tamsin Roberts from college, Lisa? Yeah, me and her have reconnected after, we occasionally spoke over years, but we really reconnected during that period of very similar shared experiences. So I've had loads of moments like that with people over the period that I've kind of, and it's all been possible due to being online.
Yeah.
And
I think a lot of people have learned a lot.
Yeah.
Pardon?
I think a lot of people have learned a lot. I mean, not just about themselves, but I mean also educationally. I mean, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that have learned languages,
Yeah.
or learned an instrument, or you know, whatever during the course of this period of time, because simply there was nothing else to do. I mean, you can sit there and yeah. Well, I mean, once you've painted the house and you've done your garden, you know, which you can do in sort of like the first 3 months of a lockdown, let's say, you know, and then you think about a further 6 months of nothing, you know, you've got to find something to do. You have to, and I think a lot of people have discovered a stronger side of themselves, you know, as a result of this. Yeah, admittedly, there's an awful lot of people who have suffered through loneliness. I mean, if you had mental health problems initially, then you would have suffered an awful lot more than an awful lot of people. You may not even have realized that you had mental health problems until this whole pandemic thing came out. But, you know, I think that a lot of us have discovered, let's say, another side of us that we didn't know about. And I think that for the majority, it's a good thing. Admittedly, there are some people that, you know, it's not a good thing, but, you know, I knew already that I was quite happy because of where I live, as George said, in a rural area. I live on an island on the Thames River. So I'm kind of secluded, separated from anybody anyway. You know, I don't meet anybody unless I actually want to, or unless I'm working. So this hasn't really, in that sense, the pandemic hasn't done that much, you know, but what I realized was that I was able to survive in that way. And it also opened up some creative juices, if you like, to make me think outside of the box, other than just walking on stage and singing as Frank. You know, I had to think of other ways of actually trying to earn an additional income other than what the state was giving me, you know. So that's a good thing. I mean, it's certainly not been a good year. And I really, really hope that next year is so much better. But
thank God for Netflix and binge watching. See, I have super binged watched so many things just to keep me occupied. I've pulled all-nighters with certain series just to kind of
yeah.
Just because I just
fully intend to go to bed at 11:30 and half 6
episodes to go, and I'm really into. I'll just stay up and watch them all. Go on, do it. Nothing better to do.
Yeah.
So we all can say we've actually learned to appreciate a lot of things during this COVID-19, and especially in the show business field, it's gravely missed. When I ride by a movie theater and see it's empty for 9 months, that's no laughing matter. It's just everything is just terrible. And
it is the industry that's been hit the hardest. There's no doubt about it. And if somebody said, "Oh, my industry has been not," I would go, "Really sorry to tell you, but the arts have been hit the hardest and treated the worst during this."
Yeah.
And events. I mean, I've got some friends locally who work for events companies, and her husband has been able to put on some trade shows, like he does more trade shows for motor vehicle, for Ford and stuff. So they've been able to kind of get going, but not to the same extent. And she can't put on events. It's really, and then for her, there's all the people she works. I mean, we talk as ourselves as individuals, but for everything that we do or everything we work with, there are 10, 20, 30 people that maybe are involved with us on, or more in some ways, on different projects. They're also out of work. And then they'll know people that they've done projects with that are also unable to work. And there is literally nothing we can do. And I don't know, I mean, did you guys get much government assistance over there or nothing?
We got some for a while because they did the extra.
A little bit, yeah. But that went away.
And then that went away. And then they were arguing about it for ages, which they still are because they haven't signed that.
Right.
Yeah.
But I found other work since then, so
it's tough.
Yeah.
How do they expect you to survive? I mean, that's the thing. I mean, our government suggested to us that we should all retrain. Well, I'm 58. You know, retrain as what exactly?
Exactly.
You know, and they have all these job schemes which were for sort of up to the 25-year-olds. Well, I'm obviously a little bit older than that. So there's this whole bracket of people in a certain age group, you know, spanning about 30 years that, you know, really just forget it. You know, I mean, what are you supposed to do? I mean,
And also,
what
we
are you,
don't
what are you,
know
how are
any
you
different.
supposed to
We don't
survive in
know
America?
anything.
You know, when you're not getting any assistance whatsoever. I mean,
And I can't speak for everybody, but I don't know anything else. This is what I know. So if I'm going to suddenly go up for some admin job, there is going to be Patricia from High Wycombe, who has been a PA all her life. And, you know, I might have admin 3 months in this office 10 years ago. So
Right.
you're going to see 2 CVs and they're going to go for the more, you know, these are jobs that I'm not, even though I could do some of them, I can't show that with my CV. I'm just not qualified to do them. So it's all very well when they say, oh, do something else. It's like what? And some people are having to do, you know, and a lot of people are doing Amazon deliveries and Hermes and things like that to get by. What's her name? Anna Jane Casey. She's
But you
doing-
do what you have to do. I mean,
Yeah.
to be honest, I always had survival jobs.
Yeah.
I had like 5 survival jobs in New York when I was running around doing auditions.
I mean, I'm lucky that's just me, and my outgoings are quite low. But I would hate. I'd look at, you know, you look at people that may have a partner that's working that helps. But if you're somebody, a lot of musicians that and giggers that cannot work, and you've got kids as well, it's really difficult. And you just kind of go, what can we do? I mean,
well, my survival job was working in conference centres. Well, that went with the whole hospitality trade thing as well. So even my survival job went. You know, it's
Yeah.
but yeah, you know, there you go.
The unemployment, even here, the unemployment was like the worst it's ever been, I think.
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah.
But I still think here they got more support because they allowed independent contractors to apply, which they've never allowed before, I don't think. Usually it's only if you've had W-2
Right.
contributions that you can apply for unemployment, and then they opened it up to all gig workers, all anyone, if you could prove what, you know, you just put all your taxes in, and then they allowed you to claim unemployment, which I don't think the UK was allowing as much support.
What they were doing for, if you owned a limited company, then you got nothing. If you were a freelancer, what they would do is calculate they'd give you a percentage of your profits for the past 3 years. And if your work is very bitty, and then you submitted your accounts and your profits were only, you know, £5,000 averaging each year.
Put your profit down so you didn't have to pay as much tax. That's the thing.
Yeah, so then you kind of go, well, great. If my profits are showing £5,000 for the past 3 years, and I'm going to get 80% of that, and that's it. But then they did allow self-employed people to claim universal credit.
Oh, okay.
It's not enough to get by, but they, rather than chasing you to get something else, they're kind of being a bit more relaxed and going, okay, we're not harassing you because we know that if you're self-employed, it's not your fault right now. So they are, but you know, it was no help, and even people that you'd think would have qualified didn't qualify. It's for a government assistance. I mean, they should have just and it's kind of funny. There was a friend of mine who was doing Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and he had a bit of a row with a Facebook friend because he said he resented the fact that he was working in a pub, cleaning tables and pouring pints for people who were furloughed on 80% of their salary to come in and get pissed during the day on the government, and yet he isn't allowed to work and is waiting the tape, you know, still having to work so that they can have their beer and enjoy being furloughed. And it was quite galling for him to have to do that. And I you know, and I get it. And I thought,
they were on a different contract, basically.
Yes, no. Well, if you work in he was on, when his show got shut down, why didn't they say, okay, you were in the middle of a contract, so we will give you 80% of your salary, like we're doing to everybody else? But no, because you're a freelancer, doesn't work like that for you.
Right.
So me and Stephen couldn't go to the government and say we were in a job, and this was cut short. just
Right.
80% of what we would have got, that
Right.
will help. But then you could go forward for gigs further down the line. We were booked to do this. They could say, but that could have been pulled. Yeah, you could. But anyone on a touring contract or anything could have said, I'm in the middle of a tour. And it's supposed to go on. The tickets are sold all the way through the year.
Right.
Why am I not getting 80% of my salary?
Hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's not fair. It's not been, and I think it was just an easy way to not have to pay people. Because it was look after your mates that own the companies and make sure their companies stay afloat. But the individuals, they'll probably find something else, bless them. And
They've never really understood the freelancers in England, though.
no, it's not
Really?
at all.
No,
It's-
the government go through stages where they encourage it. And then they sort of give all sorts of packages to encourage you to be a freelancer, to you know, and then the moment that there's any kind of hassle or whatever, then they disown us, you know, as being unimportant or non-viable, I think was the term they used, wasn't it?
Wow.
It's like, don't exist.
But there is that perception of people in the arts as well, that we're just kind of drunk dossers who pop up on stage for a couple of nights and get pissed and often do drugs with them. It's like this. No, it's a job. But they forget in some ways the knock-on effect, as Michael was saying, like, when a theatre is full on a Saturday, say, for example, you're going to have 2 shows. Now, every hotel is going to be full from tourists. And what do tourists do? Or people that live outside the town and want to do a weekend trip to the city to go and see a show. They might bring husband, wife, a couple of kids. Then they're going to go and do shopping. They're going to go to the bars and restaurants before and after the shows. They're going to grab coffee. All these.
Get into
The
taxis.
knock-on effect that it relies on a couple of thousand people in each theatre. And then when you've got an area with 10, 20 theatres, you add that up, the amount of people that are in that area every night and twice a day sometimes,
Wow.
that go and use hotels, public transport, eat, pubs, bars, restaurants, that is a huge loss to the economy. They need us back.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
We make more money than professional football.
Do we now?
Yeah. Because there's
Cool.
theatre in every single town.
Wish I had the money
there's a show
a
every
professional
night.
footballer had.
Right.
Well,
Really.
professional footballers make more money than we do individually, but as an
Yeah.
industry, the entertainment industry brings in much more than Premier Football.
Mhm. Well, so we can say together,
Profession.
we can definitely say together that COVID sucks.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really messed us up.
And so do I. Oh, no.
Definitely. So you guys, I mean, I wouldn't even know to ask you. I mean, the future plans of shows, because you can't really plan nothing. So it's almost like damn, where do we go from here?
Are you at liberty, Lisa, to divulge any of your projects?
Yes,
Any-
Lisa.
Give us a heads up on what you're working on, or is it all?
There's a couple of feature films that I'm on that I'm hoping to film like fall, winter 2021. The Uprooted, which is the documentary, that will still be on the film festival. We're kind of holding on the film festival a bit longer, so we're hoping to get at least a live experience for us all. So if we can push that to the fall, so we can then all experience a live one. We actually got accepted into another one, which will be live, but I'm not sure we're going to get there, whether we'll be vaccinated to get there. That's in March. I can't announce that yet. And then that gets released educationally, so that's kind of, and then we're working on the episodic for that, so that's kind of all back end of the year. So none of those have been like, the one's called Lineage and one's called Rope Walk. They're but 2 feature films, so hopefully but again, that's all money dependent.
Mhm.
feature films, narrative feature films. So yeah, that's all kind of developmental stuff, which is
Great.
exciting.
Michael, what about you?
All vaccine dependent.
Yes, all vaccine dependent. What about you, Michael? What do you got going on?
Well, I'm right now. We're still in the fall semester of AMDA where I teach. So I actually on Monday I start a new show, but we don't know whether we're gonna try to rehearse it live and then film it, or if we're gonna do the whole thing online. So we're kind of waiting to see. The kids are coming back to New York and they're going into quarantine for 14 days, and then everyone's going to be tested, and we're going to see where we're at
Wow.
that point. So just kind of doing that, and then I have like a few shows possibilities for summer, but we're waiting to see if Actors Equity is how the vaccines go, and if we're actually going to be able to do shows this summer, because we just don't know yet.
Yeah.
We're just kind of wait and see. I mean, I've just been so blessed that I also am a teacher, so that this has been a way for me to continue to do what I love to do and to make money. So it's kind of been a really great situation in that respect.
Awesome.
So happy I went back for my MFA. That was a good choice.
Michael and Lisa, I'd love to tap you guys' brain about some of the production software because I'm a little nerdy in the computer industry, and I love to do little mini movies and things like that. I use some software that's not the best, but I'd love to learn some more stuff. Definitely.
Cool.
You
What
two
do
should
you-
keep in touch too, I think, Michael and Lisa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So George, what do you got coming up? I know you got something.
Bugger all. Oh, I've got another assignment to do for my masters, but
Okay.
I've got to get that. I've got to start that after New Year's Eve, get that out of the way, and then I'll start. It's not that this one's just doing a PowerPoint. It's like, why? It's a bit pointless, but that's what we got to do. Yeah, apart from that, we've got something. I mean, we've got something coming back up at Boysdale's, haven't we, Stephen? In February potentially, but then that just depends whether or not what tier London's in again.
So still on wait.
Still on hold.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of interest. I mean, there's the theatres and promoters, and you know, this company, the Boysdale, which has been mentioned before, which has 2 venues that we work in with various different sizes of band, and I mean, they're all basically sitting there and waiting. We do have diaries at the dates in the diary that the Boysdale keep on putting in. And then they get cancelled, and so they delay them, and then they get cancelled, and they delay them, and you know, so it's an ongoing process. So I mean, the diary is not empty, but it ain't what it was, and it really does, once again, as Lisa said, depend upon antivirus. You know, when we're allowed
Antiviral
to,
software. No.
or software, yeah.
Antiviral software. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, we can but hope, and you know, just live a day at a time at the moment, really.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to one day hopefully catching your show live. I've seen a lot of the videos, and if with you guys' permission, I hope I don't get kicked off putting the video up. I'd like to put little snippets of your show and in between of our interview, and let people see what you guys do, because you guys do some wonderful work.
So Michael and Lisa, have you got any footage of some things, you know, clips that you might want to?
Of Rat Pack.
No, of your work.
Of anything.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And then he
Do you want me
can.
to email?
Sure.
Yeah, and you can splice some of your bits in and possibly edit this.
Yeah, I'll email some trailers over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from this to this.
Yeah. Yes, it's time to come up with some creative ways to get this out there, because I'm looking on Facebook, and we got a lot of comments on Facebook. So
Are you? Is this live on?
this is right now. This is live
Okay.
on Facebook. This is live on Facebook. I didn't get a chance to set up the YouTube yet because I wanted to do the edit. I think this would be awesome once when I get it edited and put the different clips in and the interview. It's just
Cool.
amazing. You guys really have walked me down a straight educational path of the industry, and I think you gave the viewers a lot of information and the effect that it has on you guys' work. And I'm pretty sure the little guys around here is like suffering, but hey, we're still here and we're still looking at you beautiful people. You guys got a lot of work to do. And I hope our governments will act right soon and we'll be able to come back online and be able to see each other again live
Absolutely. Yeah.
without the COVID.
Yeah.
Yes.
Post-COVID.
Yes.
Yeah. I won't
Thank
miss
you
it.
for having us on.
Thank you for
I
having
really
Thank you
appreciate
guys so
you.
much for doing this. It means a lot.
Yes, and I've been
Problem.
begging
It was a
George.
joy.
Thank you, George. LaFay says she's gonna watch and she couldn't wait. She begged for this. So my sister's gonna enjoy this so much. You guys have been giving me chills. I just been watching and just in amaze at the stories, man. Just like, wow. You guys have been to more countries than food places that I've been to. I mean, I can count the food places on one hand. You guys have been places that I would dream to go. But we envy you here in the US and in the UK. I really appreciate having you guys. And Michael from New York, I really do
Thank you.
appreciate you being here. Lisa, lovely story. Stephen, Frank, we look forward to hearing from you. And George, I love you so much. I appreciate
Love you,
it.
bro.
Thank you for having us. This is once again Tyrone Bridges, What I Thought You Knew, live with the Defiant Rat Pack.
And Michael and Lisa.
And Michael and Lisa.
And
Yes.
honorary members.
And Lisa. and George.
Bye-bye.
Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Happy New Year.
Same to you.